shaded. And then the other thing that's a little bit different, which some people might notice if they've seen a lot of our designs, is this house has probably the smallest windows we've ever done. And that was by special request. And it does help a little bit with the energy efficiency. And as you'll see when we go to the Matterport, it didn't really impact lighting too much because it has some pretty good southern and southeastern exposure. So let me jump over to this to show you the floor plan of this house. So this house in particular, it's a version of our square homes. It's 740 square feet wall to wall, and it's designed. The primary design feature over some of those squares is to get covered parking, whether it's a garage or a carport, directly against the side of the house, so there's immediate access without having to go through the elements, which anywhere in New England is great, and it's even better if you're getting a little bit older and need to worry about slippery steps, because the primary steps to get in are undercover. Other notes on this: so you come in from the carport, we've got this nice mudroom area, a mudroom closet, big kitchen area for a table, living room area, and there's lots of storage in these square homes. Typically down the center, we're able to get just a menagerie of different closets. We've got a coat closet, a closed closet that can have a closet system. We've got a linen closet, we've got a pantry. This closet is usually going to get shelves floor to ceiling, and then another coat closet. So just a ton of space to store stuff in here, which is always good in these small homes. And then of course, lots of windows. Each room in here has windows on at least two sides, which plays to making the rooms feel a little bit bigger and lets in a lot of light from different directions. So different times of the day, the rooms are still going to be nice and bright. Okay, and then we'll come back to this a little bit later. And if anyone has any questions about what kind of customizations that you can do, we can play with this a little bit and show you exactly what's possible. Like I'll do a quick one. If you want to make the living room a little bit bigger in this, we can very easily do that. So you could get to a point where you have a full-size living room area. So you could get a couch and two chairs, or a big sectional. So I'll put that back. All right. So after this, we'll share the links to this Matterport. And Matterport's just a tool that we use to capture the inside of these houses and make it easy to tour anything after we built it without needing to go and knock on the homeowner's door and ask them to come in. So right now we are standing right inside the front door. So as I was showing on the floor plan, going out this way is this mudroom entry corridor, and hallways, things like this are not always great. They can sometimes be a waste of space, but it's a great way you can hang coats and stuff along this wall, an entry, a bench for shoes, but it's a good way to separate out the space coming into the house from the main living space. And here's that coat closet right when you come in, right off of the main entryway. And looking out in here, step forward again. So this is the open concept joint living room and kitchen area. So this is This is a pretty small kitchen as far as we usually do. It's got pretty much one main prep area in here. So if you don't do a lot of cooking, or if you're just going to be cooking for a one, this is something that might suffice. And obviously not a whole ton of cabinet space, but still enough space where you're going to be able to put dishes and dishes away. And there's a lazy Susan in here for storing bigger items and get those off the countertop. And these are those smaller windows that I mentioned that we put in here. Usually the windows that we put in would come down, probably be almost twice as big as this. So an extra 1 foot out this way and another 1.5 feet in this direction. Just to make them, again, the windows on multiple sides of these rooms make it feel nice and large. These things in the floors, these are ducted mini splits. So these produce forced hot air and cooling. So we get nice and even heating and cooling in the house. These are the same technology as a wall mounted mini split, but they move air around a little bit more evenly. Now, in this living room space, this is big enough to get a full-size couch and an armchair, or a 7-foot sectional can go in here. So there's a little bit of flexible about how you would go about using this space. And then in this house, there is there's a spot on the wall here for mounting for a wall-mounted television. You can see we've got that outlet up here with the cable. And then that's one of the big shelves with one of the closets with all the shelving for extra storage. So looking at this kitchen, this space here is enough space for it's a 24-inch stove and 24 to 28-inch fridge. So smaller appliances in here, again, going to the need that the kitchen for this did not have to be that large. So we downsized those to make a little bit of space, and then also smaller appliances are going to use a little bit less energy, which was another big thing for this homeowner, is to keep the overall energy costs down. And in the case of this house, completely net zero with the solar that's going on the roof. Overshot. Let's go back out here. So now I'm standing in kind of right in the center of the house, this transitional area. So this is a closet with a bunch of shelves in it. It can be a linen closet. And then here's another closet here, also with floor to ceiling shelving that can be used for pantry or linens or whatever else you need for storage. And then in here, direct access going into the bathroom. This is an average size bathroom. It's not huge, but it's also not on the small side. And in this bathroom, there's a 48-inch walk-in shower with the accessibility bar in there. That's not that accessibility bar. The location was, again, a request from the homeowner moving in here. It's not exact guidance of ADA about where to put these, but this is where the person that's going to be using it wanted it. So and that's kind of a testament to how we go about with designing for accessibility, is really listening to what the person that's going to be using it needs, rather than being following exactly what the ADA guidance is, because often what somebody wants is short of what the full guidance is for commercial ADA accessibility. And there often is space concerns as well when trying to be 100% ADA compliant, as this bathroom is not, because as you can see, there's no grab bars near the toilet in here. And this would be a difficult toilet to use if you were in a wheelchair. And then there's a small little window in this bathroom to provide some natural light.
Chris, is there a washer and dryer in this home?
There is, and you can't see it. It's behind the door. So you can see up here. In this space, there's room for a stackable washer dryer, whether it's one of the laundry center styles or a high efficiency front loader. And then this is the smaller of the two rooms in this house. The person moving into here is going to use this as an office and a place for his computer. But it is designed so this wall could sustain a double bed comfortably, going in both this direction and this direction, and a queen bed if you wanted to try to squeeze it in. A queen bed would have would leave less space down at the footer. And then we've got the big 4.5-foot closet, which gives ample room for hanging, and then also opportunity to add a closet system depending on what kind, how you like to store your clothes, whether it's just open shelves or drawers, baskets. There's flexibility with a big closet like this, and then it's easy to get it out of sight, out of mind, rather than needing to worry about if you're not somebody that likes who takes the time to put stuff away and organize it. Just having a big closet with some kind of organizational system can help a lot, especially in a small home where you want to get stuff out of the way and out of mind. So I'm going back over to the bigger of the two bedrooms. And these bedrooms are similar in size, but this one is a bit bigger this way. We've got an extra 2 feet in here, which makes the space for a bed. You can get a queen size bed in here much more comfortably. And in here, a queen size bed's going to fit along this wall, or it's going to fit along this wall. And you can set it up so you have space on either side of the bed if you need a nightstand on both sides. And then if you do just push it against the wall, it creates a lot of additional space for whatever else you might put in here, a desk, dressers, or other furniture. And then here's the closet open. And you can see in here, just have a typical upper shelf and then clothes hanging bar. I guess I can. And then down on the floor of this closet is access to the crawl space. And this house actually has a pretty big crawl space that we had to put in to correct a grade change. So this property has a pretty big slope in it. So down into this hatch, there's almost a 6-foot basement. And that was necessary in order to deal with the grade change and keep the house level. So there's a lot of extra storage down there. And this right now is just accessible with a ladder. that is kind of a quick tour of the inside of this house. This gentleman is going to be moving in at the end of the month. And we'll probably get some more photos of this once he's all settled in and you can see how his furniture fits in here. We didn't get the Matterport tour of the home in Bridgton before the homeowner moved in. She was up against a tight deadline with leases ending, so she had to jump right in there. But biggest differences between the two is she's got the big windows in her house. She has a back door as well, which she's probably going to build a screen porch off of at some point. And she's also got a bigger kitchen. She's got a full-size kitchen that almost stops all the way out here because she does like to cook a little bit more. But she does have this mudroom on the front, so she can build a carport. And you can actually kind of see the carport out the kitchen window, at least the framing for it, which will be done shortly as well. I think it's actually done today. But we haven't got an updated photo yet. So let me jump back here and I'll show you a couple of photos of this site kind of early in the process. All right, so this was the site before we put a house on it. Grass, and you can kind of see some of the grade changes that we were dealing with. And it's on an in-town lot in Topsham. We're within a mile of downtown Brunswick, so it's walkable to the coffee shops and the pizza place downtown, and all of the different restaurants down there. And of course, this is when the pandemic was still in full heat in the U.S. Luckily, we're past that, but this is us out there just doing a rough staking to get this, to figure out where we were going to put the house in this really tight lot without hitting setbacks. And this was, as you can tell, in the fall of last year. So this one was planned as grounds were freezing. So we finalized the planning, and then we had to pause and we broke grounds as soon as the roads unposted. This one we broke ground in, I think, late May, and we're done just about a month later. And this is the view out the back. And we're going to be putting in, one of the things we'll do this fall is put in some arborvitaes to help add a little bit more privacy in here. But given it's July, it's not a great time for planting any kind of trees or shrubbery. We'll wait until the spring. We'll have time to kind of root itself in, and then winter, and then be ready to start springing up in the spring. Let's see here. So here's a good shot of when we go roughing the driveway in. So this is a view out from the street. We wanted to minimize clearing of this of the trees in the front to give a little bit more privacy to the house. So we got just enough in here to make sure we could get a car in there in the driveway, and of course the trucks that we need to deliver this. These guys are a couple of the neighbors, a couple of friendly dogs. They've been out there every day since we've been there. So here's a good shot of our foundation system. So as I said, this is a taller foundation. These are insulated concrete forms, and we utilize a frost protected foundation, which allows us to have more flexibility in how deep we dig, and And it also minimizes how much concrete we have to use, which is a plus for the environmental impact of the homes. And each of these are 18 inches tall. So this basement has a good amount of space in it. And again, we did this to keep the house level as the slope dropped off. You can see we're kind of downhill from here, and you can see that back wall. Let me grab a shot. And then this is the frost protection aspect of this foundation. So this is an EPS insulation board, which essentially lifts the frost line up around this house. So it prevents the ability of the frost to get underneath and force the wall up. And keeps the temperature of the ground under the house closer to 50, 55 degrees, like you would get if you did a full basement. So lots of questions we get is, can you get the house in my backyard? Well, this was a pretty tight lot, and we got it in there. Not the tightest that we'd done, but as you can see, we snuck it right in, right up against the trees on either side. There's usually a way to get the bigger boxes in, and boxes being the different components of a modular home. And if it comes to it, there's always opportunity to design the house so the pieces are a little bit smaller, so you can get them into a smaller area, or if we need to lift them a longer distance with a crane, we can make them smaller so they're a bit lighter. You can see that just hanging out up the driveway. Let's see. So this is a couple of photos from the set. So put the first box down, and then the other one's coming up and getting dropped right there. All done with a big, I believe this is a 75-ton crane that we were using on this job. All right. Well, the rest, you've seen these photos. It's a view out the side door, out at the carport, which is now done as of today. All right. Are there any questions about the house or the photos or the process? Wanted to pause for a second to give anyone a chance to ask any questions that you've got.
Where do we fabricate the components?
Great question. So we, our factory partner is in Pennsylvania, and we've toured a lot of different factories, and we landed with the group in Pennsylvania. They're called PBS, and they're out of Middleburg, and they've been a great partner to help work on smaller homes, which are an unusual thing to build in a modular environment, because the typical home is a lot bigger, and they've been great working with us to fit it into their into their production process without causing costs to skyrocket, which is the case for a lot of groups that have tried to do smaller homes in the modular and keep them modular. You got to keeping the cost down is tough. So they've been great, and there are. So I guess, and then we are constantly looking to making, but they do a wonderful job.
We have another question. Will we be able to see the inside of the second house even though the owner has moved in?
We will. So we don't have the Matterport for that right now. But once she is all settled in, once she is all settled in, we will circle back up there and get some Matterport photography and just regular photos of the house, so you can see it. She's got different color schemes, different flooring, different doors. So it is worth seeing how they change up. Let me see if we've got some. We weren't very good about taking photos of that house as it was going.
We have a question. Can you provide some information on costs?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got cost information for all of our design paths on the website. And unfortunately, those numbers are a little bit behind. We haven't updated them. We haven't updated them since the Great Lumber Surcharge of 2021, which we're very hopeful is going to come back down and hopefully get back to some level of normalcy going into the fall and this winter. But the prices on our website for each of the different lines, so the smaller, simple S line, the L line, which is L-shaped homes, these squares, are all up there. And to get them to quote unquote pandemic pricing, just need to add about 25% to the cost. So the home that we just looked at last year, we were getting that built well and septic and everything for 190 to 200,000. And 4 months earlier that year, we were getting it done for 175,000. Today, we're at about 210,000. And that's for that 2-bedroom Cape style home that we just looked at. And the range is based on what kind of finishes get chosen on the inside. But those don't have a huge impact on the overall price of these small homes because there's not a whole lot of flooring. There's not a whole lot of siding. A big thing with costs of small homes is understanding the cost breakdown, because it's very different than pricing for a regular sized home. So in a small home, there are very large fixed costs that are the same, that are similarly priced to large homes. So things like digging the foundation hole, putting the foundation in, connecting the electrical, collecting the plumbing, doing a septic system, a well, all of those costs are a fixed cost, and they're the same price for a small home as they are for a large home. So with small homes, you unfortunately see higher cost per square foot than their bigger counterparts, and you see big swings in cost per square foot. So if we're looking at like a 500 square foot S-line home that we've designed, that might be costing 145, 150,000. Cost per square foot is 310, whereas a bigger home that's 700 to 800 square feet, that might be coming in at under 300 per square foot. So you see big swings depending on the size. So it's a different ball game when it comes to looking at prices.
Chris, how long does it take to build the modular homes?
So it's the actual construction process in your backyard or on a building site is very quick. So the 3 houses that we just started and finished, they were all completed from breaking ground to being ready to move in under 2 months. And that involves about 3 weeks of groundwork. So digging holes, excavating, putting in utilities, a pause from work while we wait for everything to settle and for the components to arrive, and then 2 to 3 more weeks to finish the house. So it's a very quick process once we get going. The entire construction process takes a little bit longer, primarily one of the impacts of just the huge demand for housing. Just like with people who are building from the ground up, who are building in the ground up on a site, lead times have gone up for getting on schedules. So home factories almost universally have seen production lead times go from 2 months to over 5 months. So the construction time once the house arrives hasn't changed, but the time to have the house done has extended a little bit. So in total, if you say, if we take customizations and design out of it, which has a little bit of a variability depending on how custom you want to make one of these homes. If you took something right off the shelf like that we're looking at now and said, build it for me, right now we could probably have it ready to move in 5 or 6 months, 2 of which are active construction.
Chris, we have a question. Can we see photos of the interior framing and utilities before sheetrocking?
Yeah, let me pull some up. We've got participants. Let me see if I can find some.
If there aren't any of this house, I know there are some from Brunswick.
Yeah, so there are not any. If the question was specifically for this house, then the answer is no. We don't typically get photos as it's in production. Am I on the right share desktop 2? We don't typically get photos of. Can Alexa, is my screen being shared?
Yes, I'm looking at the inside of a warehouse with a.
Yeah, so we don't typically we don't typically get photos of all the houses as they're getting built on production. We stay up to date with them, looking at the production plans that are provided to us. So an example of those were. So we're using those to make sure that everything is to spec. So here's an example of some building plans on something that we're working on that's going to be going into production soon. So we're using these to make sure what gets done in the factory is done correctly. And we're working, and the partnership is relying on the several layers of quality control in that factory to make sure that it's getting done to the specs in here, rather than getting play-by-play photos from the factory line. But we do go out there to review and then just check in and make sure everything is continuing to be what we expected and what we signed up for when we started working with them. But this is a shot of right on the factory line. And we do have a lot of additional photos. So if you go to our website, so the very first house we did, so it's down in the bottom. If you go to the blog, and we can send this out too, Alexa, if you want to take a note, we can send this out in the follow-up. In the blog, we've got a project diary for our very first project on Mare Street in East Hampton. And this is a detailed play-by-play of exactly what happened in the factory, from framing the floor to putting the walls up, to doing the drywall. It's got everything in here. And we do have a second one of these in the works for the story-and-a-half house that is in Brunswick, which was a little bit different. It was a little bit different build process, so they did a lot of photos of it, which was neat. This has got some good shots of the walls going up. And this is the first S-line home that we did. So just a very basic rectangle. One of the most affordable things that can be done because it simplifies what's being done in your backyard so much. So we'll send this link out so you can see these framing photos of it being built. Right. So if there aren't more specific questions, I'll wrap up here just talking about a little bit about design process and customization. So this is the software we use for doing design customization. And we specifically, when we're working with your own designer, not architects, we're home designers. So working with you to hear what you're asking for and putting it into a format that can be looked at, understood, and turned into a home that's going to be very livable. And the neat stuff about this software is it's very accurate in terms of giving a sense of giving spatial awareness. And as we change the dimensions or layout, we can see exactly what happens. So we can do a quick example of that. So if we look out at this back wall in this living room space, if someone decides that they really would like to see a full-size living room that can accommodate a full-size couch and 2 armchairs, well, we can do that. And I showed this earlier. We can say, okay, well, let's make this house a little bit bigger. Let's make this living room, let's make it 15 feet. And this is just a really quick example here. So I don't expect it to be perfect, but we can do stuff like that and immediately see if we like that change or if we don't. And obviously there's some flaws in here. The TV's gonna have to move. That door might not make sense there. But we can do this kind of stuff very easily. Same with, say we don't want that door. Well, we can get rid of that door very, very quickly. So this is the kind of stuff that we're doing when we're going through the design process. We start with shapes, and that's from our legacy of starting as building these in backyards. Generally, a shape is going to work. There's going to be a shape that works in a backyard well, whether it's a boomerang shape, an L shape, a straight shape, a square shape. And then we work to get the rooms the right size for what somebody's going to be doing in those rooms and what furniture they're going to try to bring with them, what storage needs they have. And we have flexibility to work from within one of these pre-designed plans, as well as just saying someone being interested in, yeah, that looks perfect. Just let's do that. And let me put a spice cabinet in the kitchen or like an apron front sink, or try to vault ceilings. So there's lots we can do. And some of like the bare minimum stuff that needs to be done as houses are being adjusted is making sure windows are looking in the right direction, making sure that they're facing the right way to get optimal light based on if there's shading from trees, just the north, south, and east and west exposures. Whether somebody needs covered parking or a garage. So lots of neat stuff. And another big one is accessibility. And this bathroom is not fully ADA accessible, but it's designed with someone in a walker in mind, in the sense that somebody could come in here, stow a walker there, get into the shower. Someone could come in here, stow a walker there, use the toilet, and then go back out. So it's something that as someone loses mobility, it is usable, but it could also be made into something that's fully ADA accessible. And we did just finish a home in Leeds, Massachusetts, which is a 650 square foot version of this home. And it's actually a studio, and that has a fully ADA accessible bathroom. It's got a ramp going up to get inside. It's got knee space sinks. So if the grandmother who's going to be living in there is ever in a wheelchair, her kids don't have to be constantly coming out to the ADU to help her out. She can still be independent. So there's lots of opportunity to make these what they need to be. All right. Well, I guess with that, we will be having a follow-up. The next session that we will be having, we'll be looking at the home in Leeds, which we're just wrapping up. Well, inside we have our temporary occupancy permit and just finishing some exterior landscaping. It's a really neat house. There's turquoise countertops and a pebble backsplash with live edge shelves, and some pretty neat colors on the walls. So we'll be touring that one. That one will be another 360 like this. And then we will also be doing, I believe we'll be doing an in-person open house there. I think Libby, the grandmother who's living in there, wants to open up her doors and host an open house. So stay tuned for that. I think it's probably going to be in September when everyone gets back from vacation. But keep an eye on your emails. That's going to be a fun event.
Chris, we have one last question.
Sure.
What's the range of square footage for the houses that we build?
So the biggest one we've designed, I actually just showed it, is the one we're building in Williamstown, Mass. And it's a 1,300 square foot 3-bedroom with a 450 square foot ADU above the garage. That's really as big as we'd want to go. But we don't, when we're thinking about max sizes, we're not really thinking about, we don't think very much in terms of square feet, because for one, new construction square feet is quoted differently than how an appraiser quotes square feet when you're selling a house. So it's not apples to apples comparison, so it causes confusion. And 1,000 square feet or a 700 square foot well-designed 2-bedroom home can have the same amount of livability as a poorly designed 1,000 square foot home. So when we go into the design process, we're looking at, what are you looking to achieve? How many people need to sleep here? How much cooking do you do? How many people are you going to entertain in your living room? And we try to help you figure out where to put space and how much space you need. That ultimately does have a square foot number at the end of the day. But we're more concerned with, are you getting enough space for what you want to do? And then also, does the house still look small, or does it look like when you're outside of it, does it just come across as another big bloated McMansion, or just something without any character? So we're trying to blend those. So not a perfect answer, long-winded, but we can usually get a lot into a small footprint. Alrighty then. Well, thank you very much, everybody. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us directly. We're always happy to chat. And if you are at the point in your process where you want some expertise on your building site, to get an idea of whether or not your site is buildable within a budget, we do come over and do site evaluations now and give formal reports. And you can sign up for one of those on our website. And we are usually scheduling those within a week in really throughout New England, Western Mass, in the Cape Cod and South Shore area, Maine and New Hampshire. So we like getting out and traveling, and we look forward to meeting people in person. With that, everyone have a great night and have a great weekend.